Okay, we are live, but we'll let it breathe just for a moment here while we bring on the meta people, while we catch a glimpse of the metaverse, because now that also includes our Instagram peeps. It's been fun watching that grow. Really cool. And welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, due to kind of an emergency sitch last night, had an opportunity to share some thoughts on Mile High Insiders with Luke about the Bo Nix decision. This is, however, the first time the pod audience will have had an opportunity to hear from you. So your gut reaction to finally the Broncos saying, yeah, Bo Nix is our guy.
You nailed it right there. Finally, they made this call. Finally, Bo Nix is settled as the guy. Finally, he can get all the first team reps and start building toward the future. But they really couldn't go anywhere else with this decision, Chad. It was a matter of a when and not if. And we've been saying for a while, to our credit, that the only decision there is to make is who's going to be backing up Bo Nix, not whether Bo Nix will end up starting. So super excited for him. I loved how he handled himself in the presser yesterday. Sean Payton cannot mention Bo Nix without smiling. You can tell he loves him as a quarterback. Probably loves him as a person as well. So definitely exciting, Chad.
Indeed. Sam Bam jumping in early with a super. Thank you, big dog. Yep. He says, evening, guys. So glad Bo was named the starter. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does against Seattle week 1. Hopefully the Broncos don't have a new starting quarterback for a very long time. Go Broncos. Let's Bo. Hashtag it's Bo time. I dig it, dude. Yeah, he'll become, in case you guys missed it, the first Broncos rookie quarterback to start the season opener since John Elway against Jack Lambert, spitting, hissing, Jack Lambert and the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1983. And I want to say the first Broncos rookie first rounder. Well, no. Oh, what was it? I'll come back to that. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it unless I'm sure. I got to double check and know. But it's just the symbolism, Zach, of Bo Nix sharing that historical distinction with John Elway. Like, it's kind of hippy dippy. It's kind of a woozy. It's kind of a wazzy, to quote Michael McConaughey in The Wolf of Wall Street. It's kind of fairy dust, but sometimes that symbolism can be a harbinger, and I'm hoping that's what this one is.
It's also an indictment of how bad the Broncos have been at the quarterback position. The only first-round quarterback since 2016 has been Paxton Lynch. He didn't start week 1. Drew Lock did not start week 1. They haven't really dipped their toe into the draft waters that often, but when they have, they've gotten burned for it. And I'm just preparing you now, Sam, to your point. We're going to see that infamous quarterback carousel graphic on the screen in week 1, probably in week 2, until Bo Nix is established. But there's a lot of optimism, overwhelmingly so. The most I've seen, Chad, since I started covering this team, that the carousel will end and the music will stop for good.
Well said. Well said. And, Bo Nix, you talk about it being slim pickings in terms of the Broncos not drafting quarterbacks in the first round that often. Bo Nix is only the 5th Broncos quarterback ever to be drafted in the first round, at least in the Super Bowl era. So that's something. Mike Adel, what's up, brother? So good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. He says, let's frickin' go. LFBO. I love it, dude. Sorry, lots of frustration since SB50. No need to apologize, dude. We're right there with you. And I think one of the reasons that Broncos fans are starting to feel a lot more comfortable about daring to hope, let's say, is that, like, even when Russ arrived on the heels of that tectonic trade and then the big extension and all that, we didn't really see anything in the preseason that gave us like great confidence. It was just like, oh, okay, Russ, what we know about Russ during his 10 years in Seattle. But with Bo Nix, he's just looked the part so far, and he's not ruined. He's not damaged goods. He's not, he's a clean slate working with someone like Sean Payton, and I can't wait to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, Mike, I mean, I don't curse on this program, but I tend to curse a lot offline, and watching Broncos games. If you watched one with me over the last 8 years, you'd hear a lot of curse words flying. But the difference now is, and Chad's talked about this, and the comfort level of watching Bo Nix play and not having to worry whether they'll convert a third down, let's say. I used to watch Broncos quarterbacks and say, holy effing crap, what was that? Now I watch Bo Nix and I'm like, holy effing crap, what was that? There's just a tangible difference now. It feels different, and it's a great thing.
The Papa Bear, David McElrath, checking in as he is wont to do early before we even went live. Love you, big dog. He says, good evening, Broncos country. Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. Hashtag God bless the USA. Hashtag 12 and 5. Buckham times 3. MHH for life. Denver Broncos for life. Knicks for 6.
SEAL Team Knicks.
SEAL Team Knicks. That's probably my favorite of the
Love
Knicks hashtags. And then hashtag Bo Roy. B-O Roy for like Bo rookie, offensive rookie of the year, I'm guessing here, Zach. But hashtag game still strong, David.
Yeah, there's so many. I've seen, hooked on Bonix. I've got a Bowden. I won't finish that. You can tell where I'm going. There's so many different puns, and I actually saw that, Luke was collecting them on Twitter. So, David, if anyone else, if you have any out there, hit up Luke and drop yours.
Indeed. Love you, David. Eric Flynn, what's up, bro? Your jersey, it is on the way. Checked on that. So you should be seeing it soon, my friend. Much love and respect. Thank you for the support. The Ronk checking in saying, Bo time, Bo leave. God bless Bo Nix and the Broncos. Amen to that. Amen to that. Zach, what did you well, let's grab Thomas here. Thomas, hey, what's up, dude? Welcome. Welcome to the manger. This might not be your first super chat ever. But I know you're newer to the super chat. So welcome. Thank you. Appreciate you, bro. It says $10 for Bo Nix, baby. Very symbolic. Love it. It says, so excited for the season. Just a quick question. Has there been any news on whether Bo will play Sunday or not? I hope not. Pardon. Protect at all costs. Love you guys. The Bronx for life. Go Bo. Yeah, that's right. To my knowledge, Zach, well, what do you know about it?
I caused kind of a stir indirectly on Twitter. I said that they should bubble wrap Bo Nix. He should be allowed nowhere near the field on Sunday. You saw what you're going to see, and why risk it in a meaningless game? I know you want to get him some reps, but I haven't seen any official word. There's been kind of conflicting indications. Bo did talk about that he's excited to get work in the last preseason game because it's been beneficial. Then I saw a report from Mike Kliss today that said that Stidham and Zach Wilson will split Sunday's finale against the Cardinals. I don't know. If he plays, Thomas, it would be maybe a series, and then you yank him and then sit him until Seattle.
Exactly. Look, what happened with J.J. McCarthy is just a good reminder of why you don't necessarily need to tempt fate.
Yes.
If think about this, Thomas, if this was the years gone past and it was a 4-game preseason, and he wasn't playing the last game, no one would be batting an eye. Your starting quarterback not playing the last game, nobody would bat an eye. So I don't think there's, not to say there isn't some upside to him getting more reps, Zach, but I think the upside to that relative to the downside risk,
exactly,
it's too incongruent. You sit him and we see him again September 8th or whatever it is. So good to see you, big dog. Thank you, buddy. Casey Nickel, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. He says my fantasy football name is Unsolicited Knicks Picks. I love it, dude.
That's cool.
That's good. That's a good one. I dig it. Very creative, very vivid, and what the picture it paints, right? The Duchess, Michaela Parker, what's up? We love you.
Thank you,
Mile
Michaela.
High Huddle, Mount Rushmore, Super Chat Superstar. She says, I have a feeling that Bo will be a sniper. Hashtag SEAL Team Knicks. I'm loving it, dude. I agree. I think he's going to be, the NFL is going to rue the day it allowed Bo Nix to fall to Sean Payton.
I think so. And Michaela, using your analogy, whoever, like the squadron leader is what I think Bo Nix will be, because that's what the quarterback is on the field. And he's already taken to that so amazingly. And when you hear Sean Payton talk about him, when you hear Joe Lombardi talk about him, when you hear Patrick Surtain talk about him, and that says, he says something like, he was just Bo Nix. He was good as usual. That's a rookie with 2 preseason starts under his belt, and he knocked it out of the park both times. So I think you're right, Michaela. We have a good one on our hands, and a guy that we want on our side.
I thought it was interesting. I'm trying to find the exact quote from Payton yesterday when he made the announcement, but he was asked basically about the fit, and how much of the fit that Nix has with him and his system is playing a role in his ability to succeed up to this point. And while he acknowledged the fit, he kind of minimized it, Zach, and gave an answer that actually made me question my premises, which is great quarterbacks, they don't need the right fit. You fit this. The great quarterbacks can play in any system, which, it's like, hey, there's some truth to that, but there's also a reason why, Zach. For example, when Peyton Manning came here in 2012, the existing offensive coordinator, Mike McCoy, fresh off the heels of on a dime changing his kind of, for lack of a better term, Patriots-esque passing offense, right? It's basically the next iteration of the Josh McDaniels New England Patriots passing offense on a dime, turning that into the Tim Tebow, RPO #1 rushing offense in the NFL that year. To then Peyton arrives and goes, okay, Peyton, we'll use, what do you want to do? And Peyton's like, we're going to use basically what I've been doing with Tom, what's his name? The Tom Moore, Indianapolis Colts guy. And they used some of Mike McCoy's stuff. I think they used Mike's verbiage, but they used so much of the old, what we know as, Zach, the Manning offense from all those huge years in Indianapolis. So if it's true, then why didn't Peyton Manning just come in and go, hey, let's just play whatever coach wants? So there is a fine line there, but I still think, Zach, the point is still mostly true that good quarterbacks can play in any system.
Yeah, I tend to agree that the best ones are scheme independent. You don't need a Sean Payton. You don't need an Andy Reid. You don't need an elite future Hall of Fame offensive mind to be successful. You can be in a horrible situation and still look good. And fortunately, Bo Nix doesn't have to worry about that because he looks good off the bat, but he's also in a bubble, in a system of one of the best minds of this generation.
Quentin Carson, what's up, dude? On Facebook. What? Trying to make heads or tails of what I'm seeing in this profile pic. Is that like a stormtrooper on a Red Rock? I don't know what that is, but I'm intrigued. It says, hey guys, so damn ready for the season to start so we can watch Bo Nix tear up defenses. He has all the intangibles plus a lot more to come. Hashtag Bolivin Broncos. Indeed, dude. It's going to be a fun year because that was one of the things, Zach, we knew you needed to start over at quarterback. And one of the interesting, compelling, not reasons for that, but things about it to anticipate or aspects of it, okay, is that with a young quarterback, at some point we knew if you drafted one in the first round, he's going to see the field at some point. In this case, Bo Nix became one of the rare Broncos, obviously, to win the starting job rookie out of the gates. But that alone, Zach, seeing him develop a new quarterback, your new franchise guy, seeing him kind of roll with the punches in his first season ever as a pro, that in and of itself is a lot to look forward to as a football fan. But then you combine that just with the overall excitement of seeing how that works within the framework of the team. Are they winning games? Are they losing some? So, like, even if the Broncos, Zach, end up kind of producing a similar season as they did last year in terms of the standings, right? Like an 8-9 finish or, 9-8, whatever. And even if they miss the playoffs, I'm not excusing it. I'm not trying to speak it into existence here, but it's going to be still a fun season to watch because Bo Nix is getting on the job training.
Yeah, and Quentin's clarifying here. He was jumping off a 20-foot drop at a trail in Red Rocks. That's awesome, Quentin. And your point about tearing up the defenses, I appreciate it. I just hope that in Bo Nix's first starting season that the defenses off the bat weren't Seahawks, Steelers, Bucks, Jets in the first 4 or 5 weeks. That's a pretty tough audition, but I think he'll nail it.
I do too. Taylor, what's up, big dog? He says, hey guys, glad Nix is starting. Which other positions need to be looked at? Also, who do you think should get props for drafting him, Sean or George? Mine is Sean. Go Broncos. Well, I'm going to start at the end first here. It's clearly Sean Payton, not only because we know he has final roster say, but George Payton has told the story about watching, his pro day, watching a few throws on the workout, and then Sean Payton walking up to George and saying, this is our guy. And George going, well, I don't know. Hold on. Let's pump the brakes on that, Sean. Sean's like, no, this is our guy. So whether you want to believe that or not, if you think it's just team propaganda, I believe that there's enough circumstantial evidence post-draft to back up the assertion by the team that Bo Nix was the guy they were after all along. But that's my answer there. What other positions, Zach?
To look at, in terms of competition or to add a player?
I think he means help, add. We're not where we need to be.
Center is still a little ticky-tack to me. What are they doing? Is Wattenberg able to hold up as a full-time starter? Is Forsyth going to be a center or a guard, even a tackle? I mean, there's not a lot of depth that we can write home about. By the way, he called him Palcho for Al Palchad.
Yeah.
Peyton did. So we have an official nickname now. So I would say center, offensive line in general. Inside linebacker, I want to see how that plays out. I still would like someone a little more athletic, and maybe a corner, someone in the defensive backfield, because even Vance Joseph talked about today, Chad, that he's a little concerned with the missed time of Brandon Jones and Levi Wallace.
Right. The Dutch is jumping in again to say Broncos country. Let's go bowling. I love it. I don't know. Today, this goes to show. I mean, I've talked to you guys before about what Zach and I do for a living, how it kind of beats some of the fan out of you a little bit, just a little bit. But today, Zach, maybe it's my own way of basking in the glow of, a momentous decision. Bo Nix earned it. He really did. He earned it, which was great to see. I'm glad it shook out that way. And today I went back and I was watching with the 12th pick in the 2024 NFL draft, Goodell announcing it from the podium. And then he was at home, of course, surrounded by his wife and his family. And I just watched that again today. And I was just like, feels right. The universe is clicking into place, Zach.
We've been on this podcast together, Chad, through this journey on the carousel, walking the desert. And during this time, we've seen other teams find young franchise quarterbacks. And we keep saying to ourselves on this pod and, privately, why can't the Broncos have that? Why can't the Broncos have that? And I think they finally got that. I think Bo Nix is going to be like to an extent, don't jump down my throat, but to an extent of what CJ Stroud was to the Texans last season, or Joe Burrow to the Bengals when he came into the NFL. They finally have the guy.
Agreed. And by the way, Scott just sent me the actual photo of Quentin's actual profile pic, and now I'm going Stormtrooper. But small like that, it just looked like a white human shape. So I was like, Stormtrooper jumping off Red Rocks. Thank you for that, Scott. The GLP is in the house. What's up, bro?
Thank you,
and Gary. By the way, let me know when you receive your Bo Nix jersey, the blue one. He says, thanks, guys, for providing positive support in the preseason. # Bo knows. Go Broncos. Thank you for being there, Gary, and supporting us and so many of the other shows here at MHH. It means a lot to us. But I am curious, GLP, the preceding 2 meet and greets, you made the pilgrimage, didn't work out quite the way, obviously, we all hoped it would last year. But are you making it this year? Can we expect to see it, or do you think that's just kind of those days are in the rear view? I know it's not easy getting up there from where you're at, your neck of the woods, but let us know if we can expect you or not.
Kind of interested if whoever's going, let us know in the chat. This is just my own personal interest. Let us know in the chat tonight, guys, if you can, who's coming to the meet and greet, because Chad, we're under a month, obviously. We're a few weeks out, and I literally cannot wait for that game, man.
Well, for what it's worth, here's who I can confirm, and then we'll grab Daniel here, amongst MHH staff that will be there. Myself, Zach, Scott. I think all of us are bringing our significant others too. My whole family's coming with me this time. They're like, Dad, we want to go. Because, I've kind of been stiff arming them like the Heisman. I've been doing one of these on them the last few years. Not because I don't want them to be there, but because, I have to focus on a lot of stuff, organizing that and having kids and stuff running around. But this time, got it down enough to a science, bringing them along. So we 3, Nick's going to be there. I don't think Carl can make it this year, but Eric will be there. Kenny will be there. Kenneth Booker. Luke will be there. Luke Patterson. Dylan will be there. Ron will be there. So the majority of I don't think Lance can make it this year, but the majority of our podcast hosts, Zach, will be there this year. It's going to be a gas. So we want to see as many of you there as possible. Daniel says, and thank you, Daniel. It's good to see you. Welcome. Appreciate the super chat, big dog. Says, I believe the moment I became sold was when he threw that TD pass that ended up being past the line of scrimmage. In the replay, I saw that while the ball was in midair, he looked at Sean Payton and celebrated the TD. A dog. I love it, dude. Yeah. And Sean Payton gave him some daps. It was really cool.
Yep. Yeah, he dapped him up, and then Davis Webb, the quarterback's coach, was going crazy with him. Yeah, I mean, it just, again, feels differently. I didn't see that much of last season with Russell Wilson. and that whole dynamic.
No, it was just an awkward thing. And it really makes me wonder how much truth there was to those old reports, Zach, that Russ was trying to move mountains in Seattle to get Sean Payton there as his head coach. Like, it was such a non-fit that I wonder how much of that was ever true. Not that Sean Payton had anything to do with those rumors in Seattle. That was purportedly a Russ thing. But real quick, I'm just grabbing this from Phil. Phil, this is the brand new. This is not a paid thing. I should probably be charging Triumph books, but this is the new Mike Kliss book, the Elway years. Handy dandy. I like to collect Broncos books, and every other Broncos book I own, yes, I have read. This one I received whatever it was last week or something. Haven't read it yet, but it's on the list. I'm keeping it here just because for exactly that purpose. You're going, what's that book? It gives them a little visibility. Triumph Books, they send it out to us. Least I can do. Mike Kliss, good guy. Zach and I, we've cited his work countless times in the last 15 years. So I think that's the least we can do. Zebo, what's good, bro? Down under. Thank you. Thank you for the very generous super chat. And it's great to see you. Been with us a long time. Stoked, dude. He says, hey, guys, finally catching a live show. So what time is it in Australia right now? So excited with Bo being named starting quarterback. Looks like the naysayers are seeing the light. More and more people are getting on board the Bo train, and Peyton looks like a cat that caught a mouse. Hashtag Knicks for 6. That's true, Zach. I even asked you on our DM the other day. I said, are we seeing anything negative about, people, any credible publications or pundits that are questioning or criticizing the decision to go with Knicks? Crickets.
I was chomping at the bit to write up a negative story and kind of add my little, touch to it, but I didn't get the opportunity. I even opened up a thread on Twitter about receipts and collecting those ahead of the season, and all these predictions coming in, weeks and months ago about how the Broncos are going to be the worst team and Bo Nix is a bust and Sean Payton's going to be fired. And like you said now, Chad, with Bo Nix's preseason performance and how good the Broncos can be on paper, not hearing that as much. It's pretty great.
It is. People are coming around. What's up, Nick Hale? He says this past several years have been like walking in the desert with no water, and every time there was hope of a lake of water, it was a mirage. These past few weeks, I feel like there is a real body of water with Bo Nix and this young team. God bless, much love. Best pod out there. Thank you, buddy. And very poetic, very true. Very true. Just when we, we're thinking, hey, we get to slake our thirst. Nope. Psych. Just more miles of desert, and it's been tough. That's right, Robot of Doom. Not just a meet and greet, a meet, greet, and beat down of Russ and the Steelers. Let us not forget, MHH is undefeated. All right, so 3 years now we've done them. The Broncos are 3-0. Now, granted, let's see, what was the first one, Zach? One of them was not the Jets, Niners, Jets, or was it Jets, Niners?
No, it's Packers last year. Jets, Niners, Packers.
So have we done 3 or 4?
3.
Now, okay. Okay, that's right. You're right. Duh. Jets, Niners, Packers. Right. All right. 3-0. Niners were a legit team. Beat them on Sunday Night Football. One of the few moments of triumph of the 2022 season. Packers, at that moment in time in the season, were not regarded as a contender, but that was kind of their turning point in the season. They turned it around from there and went on a huge romp. The Jets were the Jets when we stomped them back then. But what I'm getting at is there's some juju behind the MHH meet and greet. And the more of you that show up to hang with us, and because we're going to be there when the tailgate opens, we'll be there set up, ready to roll. You guys come hang out with us. The more of us that are there, we create that vibe, we create that juice, we create that energy. The more so we can come to predict and expect 4-0 at the meet and greets. Phil, did Peyton say Wilson will start this week and Stidham will take the second half? I don't think he 100% confirmed that.
He didn't speak today, so.
Well, yesterday he did address it a little bit. I'll see if I can find the specific quotes I'm thinking of. Here's Zach.
No, yesterday he was all about Bo Nix. He wasn't making any other announcement. He says, we'll talk about the quarterbacks, and then left it at that.
Right. He did talk about how Zach Wilson's been going on a heater of late, for what it's worth.
I I would say he would get the start, if only to be fair, Chad, because Stidham got the
Exactly.
first one and then Bogue got the second one.
Well, who was he talking to? Rossini of ESPN over the weekend, right before the last game. And he's animated, about how well Wilson's been doing and how he goes, yeah, I tell him, my job to make you millions, whether that's with us or with somebody else. And he was very proud of what he had been seeing from Wilson. Ironically, Wilson went on to produce significantly worse in game 2 than he did game 1, but he was also under constant duress. Like that tackle duo in particular with the third team was atrocious. So in the interest of fairness, I mean, you already know what you've got in Stidham. You started him 2 games last year as head coach in a regular season. So, yeah, I would be surprised if he doesn't go even Steven here, Zach, and let Wilson start, where you basically give them each a half. Bo ain't going to play. He shouldn't play anyway.
And may the best man win. I mean, if it's close right now, I think Sunday's game could tip it over one way or the other. I do think in his heart of hearts, secretly, that Sean Payton wants Zach Wilson to step up and win this job, if only because he's his pet project, higher ceiling. They invested a draft pick in him, but could keep all 3 as well. You could make Zach Wilson practice squad or emergency quarterback and roll with Stidham as the number 2.
By the way, guys, if you see me like poking into my face, my wife, first of all, I got to have a piece of gum when I'm talking off the top of my head. It's just a personal tick that I have. And a couple of months back, my wife convinced me to get braces. My dad one day I saw my dad, Zach, you'll get a kick out of this. Like a week ago, I was over at his house because he's just got a new deck built in his backyard and wanted me to check it out some over there. And I smile. He goes, yo, you got braces? I said, yeah. He goes, why? You're almost 45 years old. Why are you getting braces? I said, yeah, that's kind of what I said. But my wife, Emily, was very, very, very persistent about it. And you know what? I've only had them on. You guys don't even know till right now. You can't even tell. I have to really go for you to see that silver line because they're white. You don't notice them, but I just got them put on the bottom. And when I was chewing gum before, it was easy while I was doing the pot. I could just lock it while I'm talking. I just put it in the bottom jaw, no problem. Now I got it on both sides, and it wants to stick to the braces, but it's already, see, like this tooth right here. Do it. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, you'll use that as leverage over me, no doubt, in the future. But this was like a snaggle tooth. Okay, here's what's up, and then I'm going to shut up about it. This was a snaggle tooth where it was kind of like behind the big tooth a little bit and like crooked. And already in like 2 months, it's straight. My first time in my whole life, my whole top row has been fully straight. I've only had them on for 2 months, so there's that. But apologies if you ever see me doing that, it's because it's stuck in my braces. I got to pull it out, but I got to have the gum. It's just a tick. So roll with me on this, peeps. Hey, what about this? From the Ronk, AJ Terrell from the Falcons signed a new contract today, 4 years, $81 million. And it's funny because, as you guys know, Scott covers the Atlanta Falcons, has the our sister site on SI.com, the Atlanta Falcons on SI. And I woke up this morning, Zach, to because he's 2 hours ahead of us here in Mountain Time, hey, AJ Terrell just got a monster contract extension, $20 million per year. What are the implications, Zach, for PS2? Because he's saying sets the stage. This is Scott as I'm like rising and shining for a Pat Surtain massive contract. He's going to like blow that out of the water.
They should do what they did with Quinn Miners, which is get ahead of it. And, even more so with Miners because the cornerbacks are getting paid left and right now. And PS2, for my money, and probably for the Broncos' money, is a better corner than AJ Terrell. Nothing against Terrell. He's solid, but not PS2. I just would think that the sooner you pay Surtain, the better, because you're saving money in the future, and you're also rewarding a homegrown talent who's probably pound for pound your best player on the team.
Indeed. James, good to see you. I hope you're doing well, big dog. All right. We're at about 29 minutes. We're doing pretty good on time, but James Moss is jumping in. What's up, bro? So good to see you. One of our longtime Super Chat superstars. I think it's been a minute since I've seen you in the chat. So welcome back, big dog. We've missed you. I hope you're doing well. He says, we finally got a quarterback that can hit open receivers. Bo for show. Yeah, it's, there's been a few throws like, I got to tell you, what's his name? I get guys, and God bless you, I'm not telling anybody to stop doing it. It doesn't annoy me. It's fine. In fact, sometimes it's helpful. But I have many of you, not because I've asked you to, but because you just do it. Zach, they'll reach out, they'll DM me like breaking news over here or that, or film breakdown videos on YouTube and stuff. Hey, did you see this or whatever? Just trying to be helpful, I guess, Zach, and then also to like see my thoughts on it, probably. But JT, or what's his name? Was it JT O'Sullivan?
Mm-hmm.
Who is it that he has a YouTube channel, right? Am I thinking of the right guy?
I think.
QB school.
Oh, TJ Jenkins.
Hold on.
Jenkins?
No. QB school YouTube channel. JT O'Sullivan. Yeah. Okay. That's what I got to tell you, dude. So someone sent me him and go, hey, what do you think? Because he's not in the first game, Bo versus the Colts. He was basically like, this is lame. Bo sucks. And I was like, I watched his first breakdown. I was like, yo, I detect hate here. But I'm like, okay, I'll reserve judgment. I watched his second breakdown. In fact, today, at least half of it before I turned it off. Once again, dude, choking it down to even throw a singular compliment at the kid. I'm going, yeah, this must have been a guy that like was talking. I don't know anything about him as an analyst, obviously former pro quarterback, but he must have been talking some smack or something about Bo Nix as a prospect on film or something. I don't know, but he cannot give the dude his just reward. Like he made that play. Like he could make a throw complete, and he'll be like, now look, I'm not trying to like. I shouldn't even give it any more shine than I already am, but he hits open receivers. Yeah, that's not something we should take for granted in Broncos country, Zach, after everything we've been through the last 8 years.
Exactly. And, to the hate about Bo Nix, who's JT O'Sullivan? There's always a little bit, I think, of envy and Scott's, he doesn't know either. It's the Jordan shrug when you mention JT O'Sullivan because he's a no one and Bo Nix is a somebody and he's going to be a someone. But I say for now, and I will say going forward, let them hate. That's why I have the thread up on Twitter collecting all the receipts. Let them hate. We will revisit those receipts in January, see who's right.
Former, for what it's worth, 6th-round pick out of UC Davis back in 2002.
Chad, when your Wikipedia entry and your career highlight is all NFL Europe, you're sorry.
You know what? I almost clicked on it today. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw YouTube put in front of me the Kurt Warner breakdown of Bo Nix. I want to go watch that one and see what an actual Hall of Famer has to say. A little better,
I would say.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. You're going to see more. You're just going to see the offense. Russ had a deep aversion to the middle of the field. Obviously, Zach, he was good in a pinch. Like if the chips were down, you felt decent at the end of the game, at least last year, that he was going to hopefully run around and make something happen. He did have that clutch gene last year. It all came crashing down, alas, in Detroit. And then that was only further hammered home in that New England game. But the middle of the field thing. So if you're a defense, Zach, think about this, guys. If you're a defense and on film, it's obvious that this dude can't throw accurately, can't throw on time, has a deep aversion to the middle of the field. Maybe it's true that he only would read half the field, etc. There are so many ways schematically there are so many things you do to scheme to that, right? To shut it down. And it's another reason why I don't get too upset over Javonte's 3 yards in a cloud of dust last year, because you could just load up the box on the Broncos, stop him on 1st and 2nd down, no problem, because he couldn't, even when Sean Payton would call a play, Zach, to try and neutralize teams that were selling out, Russ couldn't capitalize on them. And so you'd end up in 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 10 or whatever. And then that was easy pickings for defenses. Russ just had a hard time converting those because 3/4 of the field in some cases, half the field in others, it was just completely off the table. No longer.
David Wilder, $2 super. Thank you, David. I'll have to break out my Let Him Hate t-shirt. That shirt will be everlasting. That will always apply. It's an evergreen shirt in the truest sense. And emulating here says, sorry, Scott. He was just saying that it was manufactured completions is what JT O'Sullivan was talking about. And it sounds like the same unbridled criticism and deranged hate you bring toward Brock Purdy, for example. And Brock Purdy is kind of my litmus test. If you think Brock Purdy is a bad quarterback or 100%, benefiting from the Shanahan system, you don't know ball. If you look at Bo Nix and think he doesn't have a strong enough arm, or he can't do this or he can't do that, you don't know ball. And even Joe Lombardi talked about it today. He said, I think Bo Nix's arm is plenty strong. So I think I'll take a coach that's still in the NFL over someone who's not in the NFL.
And explain to me what that means. Every completion that is on schedule is a manufactured completion. You see what I mean? Like, you're talking out your, you know what here. So when he delivers on a completion that is in fact designed and manufactured, then give him his props. That's what you're supposed to do. Robot to do next shirt idea. Go ahead and hate. That's good. That's good. I like it. I like it actually. I could see that doing some work.
I don't want to give the 2007 All NFL Europe that much screen time tonight. I want to address the previous question about working the middle of the field. That's a very good point and true with Dulcich and Krull and the tight ends that were displayed in preseason. But also the fact, Chad, that the Broncos have a quarterback that's going through his reads. It's not just locking on to one guy. And one of the best examples of that is when he found, I think it was McLaughlin on that wheel. McLaughlin was like the third or fourth read, but he found him, located him, and threw a good enough ball down the field, allowed him to run, not break stride. They're simple things. They're elementary quarterbacking fundamentals, but we've lacked that for 8 years in the Mile High City, and we have it back now.
Scott's over here getting me excited. Deep Nicks, with the different, I think Luke was calling them puns, Nicks puns, hashtags. I don't know. Maybe. Sorry, hit it. James Moss again. Thank you, bro. He says it's the Mahomes effect. If QBs aren't throwing ridiculous passes and aren't super flashy, then they're not a franchise player. Well, to the Rube, right? You would expect to hear something like that from a Rube, but from a cat that played the position, that's when hate comes into play. Like and this is what I mean, guys. Like, as an analyst, and when he left the playing ranks and chose to create content and become a media guy and cover the game, his opinions are out there. Well, it's better in all walks of life. When you're wrong about something, face it, admit it. And if it's in a situation where it behooves you for one reason or another to come clean about it, then do it. But what you see are guys, and I'm not even necessarily saying that, because I don't know this for a fact, that JT O'Sullivan was a Knicks hater pre-draft, but guys who they'll go, what a reach. Broncos should have waited, and if he was there in the third round, you take him, whatever. Those guys, many of them will pretend they never said it. They'll either pretend they never said it and then just heap the praise on Knicks when he starts to succeed, or they'll hold on to that bitterly, right? They'll cling to it and dole out the props and give him credit in really small measure until eventually it becomes so undeniable that then they turn into the previous group, Zach, where they act like they were down for him all along. Whereas you actually, because they think they're preserving somehow their own credibility, when in reality, people see through that. Whether it's front of brain or back of brain, conscious or subconscious, people do see through that. You get more props and actually more respect and trust from people around you. And this is especially true as a broadcaster or a writer or an analyst. When you come out on front and say, yo, I was wrong. Like, I can say this. Ooh. I was wrong about Drew Lock. Oh, no. The whole MHH empire before our eyes right now is going to come crumbling down. Not. You know what I mean? And maybe that's the case with him. Maybe not. I don't know what he was saying pre-draft, Zach, but this is the kind of thing that sticks in my craw.
Yeah, I mean, you took my point for me pretty much, Chad. So great minds there. One thing they might do if they go the second round, like you were talking about, they never say they were wrong. They never say that their takes were subpar or anything like that. They'll either, like you said, skirt the issue, delete their tweets or whatever, or just kind of work in some backhanded passive-aggressive compliments while always maintaining a sense of deniability. But you have to just do your own research. And if you want to listen to other analysts out there, there are plenty. I think it was The Ronk mentioned RG3. RG3, if you follow him on social media, is one of the biggest Bo Nix proponents. And he did a really good breakdown that everyone should check out.
Really? I'll have to go check that out. I haven't seen it. I'll check it out. Let's see here. We got Pearl saying, I love Bo, but please give him a chance. It's easy to have no high expectations. Let him show what he can do. Please. We have a tough schedule. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to crown him, right? Like some people comparing him to he's got the poise of a Brady or this or that. Let him just become whatever it means to be Bo Nix. Sean Payton, this was irritating to me. I talked about this, Zach, last night when I joined Luke on MHI, but I was one of those guys, if you can recall, that was like, oh, they're going to make him compete. Oh, okay. Open competition. We all know you want to go with your first round quarterback. Just say this is our first quarterback, like the Bears did. Like, just do it. But Sean Payton didn't see it that way. He felt like it was important, Zach, that the locker room see Bo Nix win it fair and square. And he talked about that yesterday, the importance thereof. And in hindsight, it's hard to blame him. I can't. That's another example where I could say I was probably wrong, right? Like I can go, it was probably the better thing that he won it. But my perception back then is, well, what if he's, it's not Zach a format that always favors rookies, right? The training camp. And yet when you get to the games, you need that gamer and you need that guy that in whom you and your franchise invested future wise, like just get him out on the field. That's how quarterbacks develop. But Sean Payton had a method to his madness. And so far, Bo Nix has answered the bell. And that's what's the most exciting thing about this, Zach, is he's met that expectation. He hasn't crumbled. They haven't had to make exceptions. They haven't had to, this is good stuff.
Yeah, well said. And I really like, though, how Sean Payton handled the questions about Bo Nix yesterday, talking the reaction and how he broke the news to him. And Bo Nix even said, he walked up to him and said, "You're going to be the starter. Let's go have a good practice." And then Sean Payton said, when I told him we didn't have cake and candles, we just went about our business. I really like Sean Payton's blunt attitude. And, something I did check out your show with Luke, Chad, and Luke made a good point that Bo Nix is kind of the same way with the media that Sean Payton is, very to the point, very blunt, not very verbose at all. So I think they see eye to eye on that aspect. That was a good call by Luke.
Yes. And I'm reminded too of when I touched on this last night, but I'm reminded of when the first unofficial depth chart dropped and Bo Nix is at the podium. "Hey, Bo, what do you make of being the third team quarterback?" And he's like, "I couldn't care less." Next
Pull a Cutler.
"Yeah, but what about XYZ? I couldn't care less." Little smile on his face the second time, right? Because he knew, dude. He knew he had these cats dead to rights. He knew Jarrett Stidham vanquished, straight dunzo. Zach Wilson, nah, son. He knew he was going to win that job. He had the confidence, and you need to have that confidence. And as a fan base, you want to see that in your young quarterback.
Chad, did you see the transcript after the second preseason game? Bo Nix was asked if he thinks he'll be named the starting quarterback. He goes, "That's not for me to decide." And that was the end of that quote. And then a follow-up was, "Do you think you've done enough to win the job?" And he goes, "Yes." And that's the whole quote. I really love it, man, as opposed to how fake and disingenuous Russell Wilson could come off to be with the media.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's interesting just to see the differences, right? In these quarterbacks, they are people and every person is different. They share a lot of traits, right? I mean, there's certain things that any high achieving athlete that it becomes a quarterback and makes it all the way to the league that they share in common, but they also have their individual peccadillos. So, Mike, appreciate you, big dog, saying great show tonight. Chad and Zach on the MHH podcast. Bo time, Bo leave. God bless Bo Nix and the Broncos. Yes, indeed, my brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate Pearl. Let's see. Quentin, all along, Sean has been planning to get Zach Wilson more valuable time so we can trade him something for nothing. What do you think of that? You think that's the hope, is that they can get one more decent game of film and some other team out there? Because, these conversations, when the Broncos did acquire him via trade, right? It was a trade. And a lot of times GMs will be like, oh, hey, Sean, or hey, George. Oh, you're offering what for Zach? Well, I've got so-and-so down in Atlanta offering XY. Nah, that's actually not even as good as the offer I got from, Mickey Loomis down in New Orleans. Now you got to come a little hotter than that. So you start as a team, just even that, you kind of maybe get a vibe for, is there a demand for this dude? Like, are other teams interested in him? So if you can improve his stock, there's something there, Zach, because he is a former number 2 overall pick. There are guaranteed countless coaches across the fruited plain who are going, man, they would love Zach Wilson. They wish they could have got him in 2021. They still tell themselves, Zach, last thing, if we could just get him in our system. So maybe, but what do you think?
Where were those coaches up until he got traded? There was crickets about Zach Wilson, and that's why he went for a 6th and 7th round pick to the Broncos in the first place. I just don't see what the Broncos could get back for Zach Wilson, who hasn't exactly lit the preseason on fire. He's gotten better. He doesn't look like the bust he was in New York, but it's a very small sample size. I would say the only way you can flip him is if you get back what you gave up. So they gave up a 6 and a 7. I would have to give him up for a 5 at minimum to make that deal. Otherwise, I'd rather have him on the team, see what Sean Payton can do.
The bigger question to me is, what makes the most sense? What's best for this team? Jarrett Stidham as your QB2 or Zach Wilson? Knowing Bo's your guy, you're not going to go to the number 2 unless he gets hurt anyway. You're in for a dime, in for a dollar, like Belichick said the other night on the McAfee show. Hey, caution, a word of caution to Sean Payton, so to speak, that, hey, if you feel like he's ready, then you go with him. But you got to make sure of that, because once you go, you can't turn back. You got to go with him. Even though Sean Payton tried to rebut the notion, yesterday at the podium, we all know once you go with the first round quarterback, like, you're in for that dime, you're in for that dollar. And so do you go with Jarrett Stidham? Trusty, kind of reliable, but not going to be anything close to having the juice, Zach, to ever put a team on his back and will it to victory. Whereas Zach Wilson, who has yet to show that self-same propensity to will a team to victory, and yet under Sean Payton, every quarterback rises above, right? Like, he gets them to eclipse whatever they had done heretofore.
Well, I can understand Sean Payton's preference for having a veteran behind Russell Wilson, who was 35 years old and breaking down. Bo Nix is 10 years younger, and he was extremely durable in college. He's, for the most part, he's extremely well built coming into the NFL. I don't think you have, and knock wood, any durability concerns or health concerns. So with that in mind, I would lean toward having the upside, the project at my backup quarterback spot, that knowing he's not going to get on the field, again, knock wood, and you can hone and develop and try to mine what you could out of, like you said, a former number 2 overall draft pick.
I like this from DJ Capo on YouTube. It's funny how Nix was being billed as the worst quarterback of the first rounders coming out of the draft, to now PFF saying he was a top 3 quarterback. And then, like, multiple publications going, is this the rookie of the year? Is this going to end up being the best quarterback in the class? Like, I'm seeing heads turn. Now, we can't get too far out over our skis on this yet, because we're talking about 2 preseason games. But it's interesting how, that trope, Zach, has shifted. Good point, DJ.
Yeah, they'll do this. It's they'll play both sides of the fence, and again, it's all for plausible deniability. PFF, I respect what they do analytics wise. I think they have some utility, but historically, the last couple seasons, they have not been very kind to the Broncos, Chad, at all.
All right, I'm doing one last scan through the comments to see in the chat here if we missed anything that would be fun to touch on before we dip out of here. In fact, I'll do that while Zach hits a few of our call-outs and matters of business, so don't leave quite yet.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on Twitter at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every show, check out mhhmerch.com and get yours. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football pre-save 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, please, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Well, I'm not really seeing anything topically that we haven't gotten to, but a few shouts here real fast before we get to our superstars. Malcolm G. Brown, you're now in Talabong, Biliran Island in the Philippines. Yo, dude. See, Broncos country, it's not a geographic location. It's a state of being. It's wherever you are. And that's where Malcolm's at. So thanks for checking in, big dog. Big Earn, what's up, brother? That's right. Broncos country only. Knicks for 6, my dog. Great to see you tonight. I like this one for what it's worth from Northcutt. Is Bo ready? To quote Gary Kubiak, we're Nixon to find out. I like it. I like it. A mile high salute and a special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters helping us keep the lights on tonight, starting with the Papa Bear, David McElrath. Bummed to hear that we won't be seeing you at the meet and greet this year, big dog, but I'm sure we'll see you at the next one. Sam Bam, Mike Edel, Eric Flynn, The Ronk, Thomas checking in. Great to have you in the chat tonight, big dog. Thank you for your support. Casey Nickel, The Duchess, Quentin W. Carson. That's right, I said W because it's fun. Taylor, what up, bro? The GLP in the house. Daniel. We got Zebo down in Oz. Let's see. Did I say Phil yet? Phil McLaughlin? I think I did, but just in case, Phil. James Moss. David Wilder. I mean, this list is long. I love it. Love you guys. And the Ronk, of course. Can't wait to see you again Sunday night. As Ronk says here, trust the process with Bo Nix. Yeah, this is a guy that digs the process. Knocks the jinx. Nix the jinx. No, I get it. Nix the jinx. I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes with this syntax interpretation, but I eventually get there, Zach.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Michaela. Appreciate everyone tonight. I also want to give a shout out to Patrick Wiltsey. I saw him in the comments, lioncoffee.com, unofficial coffee sponsor of the Mile High Huddle podcast and all of the podcasts on the MHH network. We will be back on Sunday evening for the gut reaction. Have a great weekend. We'll see you then. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.